Hello and welcome to Actually Intelligent. I'm your host, Max Thon, and today I'm joined by Dominique Simoneau-Ritchie, the CTO of Inspiren. Dominique, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I am excited to have you here and to be talking about your experience as a CTO, and we can just get right into it. You have built and shipped a lot of different products in your experience. I see you've worked with BlackBerry, Shopify, Wealthsimple, and more. And Inspiren is a little different. I think you look at BlackBerry, Shopify, and Wealthsimple. This is consumer technology, shopping, financial things, management of money. But Inspiren is in the senior living space. And so I was just kind of curious, how did you end up making this decision to get to Inspiren? Yeah.
I think, so first of all, what I love about my experience at Shopify, at BlackBerry, and at BlackBerry, I was in a really unique role where I worked specifically for QNX, almost rebuilding BlackBerries from the ground up, as well as at Wealthsimple. Wealthsimple was regulated, and Shopify, we built checkout. We had to care about money and information, just like you do in our regulated industry like healthcare. And these were companies that had extremely technical co-founders where technology was not a side mission. It's part of the heart of what we do. And it taught me that it's like a lot of people think like, do you invest in technology or do you go fast? I fundamentally believe that you go fast by investing in the right amount of technology at the right time. You can build scalably, reliably, and securely with just the right amount of time for the stage that you're at and the customers that you serve. And so it was actually a really smooth transition to health tech because from that perspective, I've always valued building things well. And what I looked for and what I was specifically looking for when I came to Inspiren was a company where I could, it was growing quickly. There were lots of potential problems to solve where we actually have to build things well. It's the most responsible thing to do.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Oh, keep going.
I would add that personally, I really care about preventative health and health span. I think as a society, there's so much that we can do to invest in keeping people healthier longer, no matter your age, like my age as well. This doesn't start when you become a senior. And so when I was looking for my next role, I really wanted to be in health tech. And I think that it's very rare to find a health tech company that has an amazing market, the ability to experiment and to build while also solving meaningful problems immediately. And on top of that, I have a really personal story related to Inspiren in the sense that both of my grandmothers lived in independent living, assisted living, memory care. My mother's mother actually fell. She lived with Alzheimer's for 10 years. She fell when she was living in her final memory care facility, and then she lost her on her own. She never recovered from that fall. This is actually how most people in the last few months of their life, and they're best positioned to help. And it's really exciting to be able to finally do something that's so beneficial.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's one of the things I've found really interesting in talking with people is a lot of them, when you're working in a startup, you have some sort of personal connection to them, to that story and the reason why that company is being built. I think it would be great to just maybe take a step back. I was the one who overstepped here. What is Inspiren? What does Inspiren do? And I would be interested to learn a little bit more about that.
Fundamentally, we provide technology to help seniors that live currently in assisted living and memory care facilities live longer, healthier lives. We do that first by preventing falls, so proactively making sure that caregivers notice and help people from getting into a situation where they might harm themselves accidentally by falling. We also provide life safety systems with eCall, where if there's an emergency situation, they can proactively ask for help. And generally, just overall, we help our operators who purchase Inspiren to provide better outcomes for the residents that live in their communities.
Got it. And what's an example of the operators? Are you working with assisted care facilities? Are you working with hospitals? Are you working with just individuals? I'm curious what that kind of customer.
We have money. One of the really interesting challenges about Inspiren is that we have many types of customers, but I would say more importantly, multiple personas that use and interact with our software. So generally our customers, we call them operators. They operate multiple communities that people might live in. And many of them will operate all types of facilities. So memory care, independent living, where actually, you may not even have anything wrong. It just happens to be almost like more in an apartment setup, and assisted living. And so those are our primary customers. That's who we sell to, is the operator. Sometimes it'll be directly to one of their communities, because some of them operate as many as 200 communities that have the ability to make independent decisions as well. But then what that means is, like a leader, is we're building solutions for the individual caregivers on the floor who are helping your grandmother day to day. We're also providing solutions for the community leadership to know, do we have the best systems in place and the right routines to prevent injury and to prevent issues or to address them when it comes up? And then also at the operator level, is this actually helping us overall with outcomes? And then obviously, like, they care about money. How is this helping me have a better return on my investments in the communities that we're running? And so it's a very, very different set of people that we have to respond for and be accountable to.
Got it. Yeah. So it's a little bit more broad than just saying customers. You've got a bunch of different people, different problems, they're looking for different results or results, benefits, things like that. That makes sense. I know, and just kind of going back into your experience, I know at these past companies you've been involved in, rebuilding platforms from the ground up and things like that. What does building at Inspiren look like today? Are you building from the ground up? Are you building on top of kind of some core technology that was already existed? I'm curious how you're approaching the problems you guys are solving today from a builder's mindset.
That sounds great. Yeah, so fundamentally, I feel very lucky that I inherited a core set of technology that's still modern in 2026. JavaScript, Node, like nothing like I should say TypeScript and Node, and nothing really that has to be fundamentally displaced. And my entire strategy is often, what is it that's new that should be truly built in a new way, and how are we building on top of the systems that we have while improving the technology and the underlying technology that we have? So it's not like a rip and replace type of strategy. It's very much like, how can technology serve the outcomes that we want to build and where we're headed next? And so with what that means for Inspiren, for example, fundamentally, one of the key things that differentiates us as a company is the amount of data that we have from all of the hardware. So we install hardware devices in all of the communities that we live in, and we have so much amazing data that we get from there. We also have really rich EHR data. So all of the electronic records for all the residents that stay in our communities, we have lots of information about them, their historical data. And so one fundamental new investment that we've made over the past year has been building a data platform that aggregates that together. And so that's on top of our existing system, and aggregating it all, putting it together, and unlocks new AI, like deploying new AI models much more quickly, doing analysis in a really, really interesting way, and also actually empowering our CSMs. So we have clinical success in actual care, actual nurses in our team, to have meaningful conversations with data with our customers.
I think too, now you mentioned about building different models, and you have your customer, your care teams. What is sort of the main technology behind Inspiren? I was looking at your website a little bit, and I know there's a few different kind of key things you offer, but I'm curious to know, what it is in your eyes, and how do you balance safety with privacy, especially when we're talking about computer vision and things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the kind of fundamental technologies that we have in place and that we use to provide all of the rich information that we have that can prevent falls and also help route emergencies to the right level of care and what they need is computer vision. So we have hardware devices that have cameras installed, and we run on the edge models in order to determine what's happening in the room and whether somebody is getting out of the bed, getting out of a chair, actually lying on the floor, and therefore potentially in a situation where they might need help. And so that the key aspects as it relates to safety and privacy are the fact that we actually almost all images that come off of the device are fully blurred, and we don't need to have the raw data in order to operate. We can keep and not have access to like what the person looks like fundamentally. So that's one. And because it's on the device, it actually never leaves. And so we don't store as much personal health information as many other systems might need to in order to do that, because of the fact that there's so much that we can do on the device.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not. So the device is capturing these signals, understanding like where somebody is within that room based on spatial data, and then just sending basically a signal back to you guys saying, hey, this might be something you want to check on, but you're never actually seeing.
Yeah, we try really hard to abstract a lot of that information in order to make it possible to not have, and in order to maintain privacy, right? We're talking about real people living real lives. And as we end up like assisted living facilities, some people are still living with partners, or there can be two people in the room, and you really want to maintain as much privacy as possible. And so that ability to be able to blur images, yet still understand what's happening in the room is extremely powerful. And what I'd say is we do a mix of on-device detection as well as on the cloud. And on the cloud, we also have other hardware devices that have Bluetooth, radar, et cetera. And we can combine all of that information to come up with more interesting things. So for example, we know whether a staff member has visited a resident recently, or if somebody's already walked into the room. One of the things that we haven't talked about that's like really unique about Inspiren is like we have this like fundamentally amazing technology company, but our day-to-day users are not your top bleeding edge AI adopters. Surprised actually if most of them even use ChatGPT day to day. We have clinicians, caregivers that have 10 to 12-hour shifts managing dozens of residents, constantly being interrupted. They often will have a phone on them. They may have multiple devices in the old world. And when we come in, we're trying to replace as much of the fragmented systems that they have. And they're just trying to keep up. Like they're not like, how do I like maximize my day and plan things out in a better way? And so a lot of what we do is trying to design for them, thinking about how do we make that workflow more efficient? And given the stakes, so we're talking about mission critical system where if you miss a fall, that's someone that may not get care in time in order to be able, or if you miss a preventative signal, like they're about to get out of bed, this is a high fall risk resident, you've got to go help them. That's actually what we're trying to do, is to prevent them from getting there. And these are staff that are getting so many notifications all at the same time. And so a lot of our work is truly helping them manage all of the jobs that they could be doing and to be more effective at prioritizing where the highest risk is.
How do you earn that trust with an AI tool with those types of users? And what are maybe some of their concerns about adopting the technology, and how have you guys got past that?
It's so interesting. I recently was having a conversation with a customer, and I used AI in my answer, and I could tell right away they were like, whoa. And you're absolutely right. Is like they see it as a potential risk. A lot of them. There are some of our operators in particular, so the folk operating on top of all of these communities, they see the benefits and they're learning about the industry as it's changed. But the day-to-day caregivers, the community leaders, they don't necessarily experience it until we show them what's possible. And so from my perspective, the way that I really think about it is, I don't know if I mentioned this as well, as I also lead product at Inspiren in collaboration with an amazing team that we have in place. But we really think about, how do we solve problems? So what problem are you trying to solve? What's the workflow that you care about? And so you have to engage with customers on that level when you're having the conversation, but also as a product. So I'm not putting in our product, this is an AI thing. It's a, hey, so, a good example is, we need to know for our AI models, we need to know if something truly is an emergency or not. And the more we create that data that tells us, yep, this was actually an emergency, the more we can help ensure that we're constantly prioritizing the right alerts compared to the alerts that maybe are noise, or like, want a glass of water. Great, we'll get you a glass of water. First, I'm going to go make sure that this person doesn't fall and hurt themselves. Right. And I'm not telling them that that's because of AI. What we're saying is, hey, community leaders actually role on their falls and on the emergencies that they have and what all the reasons were and whether they truly were emergencies. We can build that into your existing workflows. And then, yes, we use AI in order to better prioritize your time. But they don't need to know that even. That's solving the problem. We talk about it, obviously, and like we have to disclose it. But I say it's not the leading part of the conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, it's a bit refreshing because I think everyone wants to be an AI first company. And you guys are like, no, we're not AI first. This is just AI is part of the stack. Like, you don't really need to worry about it. Like, yes, you have to worry about it because we have to tell you and make sure everything's safe, but it's not the thing that is doing the thing all the time.
Yeah, like the way I love to say this is like, we're not building AI features. Anybody can build an AI feature. Is like, yeah, I can call an LLM, fine. We're building systems and workflows that happen to use AI, where AI is the best solution to have an amazing, amazing experience and drive better outcomes.
Yeah. To me, I feel like that is, I mean, like I said, refreshing. It feels like a more honest use of AI by a tech company, because I think there's obviously you have people developing models and things like that, but it's not, they are leaning way too much into that being AI first in their messaging when maybe they're really not. Like you said, it's a feature.
Yeah, everybody wants to bolt on their own assistant into their product. I mean, there are reasons why that could be beneficial. Maybe you can interact with the data, et cetera. That's not how you generate amazing and actually sticky AI that helps your customers succeed in their own business and actually helps you grow as a business. Like, fundamentally, the moat isn't AI. There's going to be a new model tomorrow that's better than what you're using today. The moat is, in our case, our hardware, the data that we get from that hardware that we've accumulated for years, as well as all of the proprietary data that we create with the workflows that our users have, whether that's a caregiver confirming that it's an emergency or an operator going in and taking a look at, actually, I'm going to adjust the care levels for these residents because we're providing them with more care than we thought we would need to based on our initial assessment. That's the real win. That's the data that then also helps us build way more interesting workflows to solve their own problems later. That doesn't rely on the model. Like, there's going to be a new model tomorrow that's way better than what exists today.
Right. Yeah. I wanted just to chat, based on your background, what does building today, being able to use AI tools and things like that, to look like? And where do you think it's going, building with AI?
Well, one thing really so here's what hasn't changed. You should make the best way to build the easier path for any engineer on your team. Okay. It has always been the case that I would prefer to invest in a platform engineering team that's going to make the way to build securely, safely, reliably, easy, the default way. Then you don't have to teach people anything. It's just the thing that is expected. That still holds true with AI. So what I would advocate for all companies, don't just go say to everybody, go use Claude Code. There's a little bit of that. Yeah, go use it, go learn, go figure out what makes sense. But then there's, okay, based on what we've learned, what are the workflows that are going to work for us? How do we make it the default that you do test-driven design and have 100% test coverage, that you thought about the security of your systems, and that also, in our case, we're HIPAA compliant, we prevent leaking of any PHI data. So like, what are you doing in your workflows to be able to do that? And so I think you have to be willing to do some experimentation and some learning at the beginning. But as a leader, the thing that fundamentally hasn't changed is like, how do you systematize it so that I'm not going to knock on every engineer's door going, hey, by the way, you have to care about 100% test coverage. No, it's like part of the system that we have built. And in some cases, it's like you're proactively creating a skill in Claude Code that like goes and does the test-driven design. But then you still have the old thing, which is that when you go to check in, you do CI, and CI says, hey, we were expecting higher test coverage. You didn't increase your test coverage. You should probably go fix that. It's like a little bit of all of it together.
I think one of the things that a lot of people are talking about now, and I think it was something Jensen Huang talked about, was you got to be spending all this money on tokens, and the engineers that have spent all the money on the tokens, those are your top engineers and things like that. And I don't know, I guess I'm kind of curious, like, do you agree with that?
I think measurements serve a place when you're trying to drive behavior. I think a lot about the right measurement for the right place and time. I think measuring token usage, if you're a company that's we're trying to scale adoption, is a really, really great way to know what's working and what's not, and to use it as a diagnostic tool. Another tool that I use is like, how many PRs are engineers shipping per week? I can tell you that we've over doubled our PRs per week since we've adopted AI. I think measurement serves a really good purpose to tell you where you're at on that journey. But to answer like your meta question of like, should we be spending more on tokens or what's the right thing?
Yeah.
the engineers that are spending the most on tokens on my team are the ones that are shipping the most. So yes, I do think it is a valuable way to think about it. I think more importantly, my goal, I want to be like the most responsive engineering team, that when customers give feedback in terms of we want these features, we're building them immediately. When we have an error exception, before a customer reports it, we've noticed and automatically fixed it. I am so excited about the toil that AI can automate for engineers. So how can you, all of the things that I used to have to teach someone, now you're on call. What bugs are being logged? What exceptions have happened? And by the way, those exceptions, they might just look like exceptions, but it's a real customer often running into a problem that they haven't reported yet. How do we automate that? And then I don't have to teach the engineer, by the way, that's best practice. I don't even have to teach them to go look at the dashboard anymore. I have an AI that can look at them and automate the flow.
Yeah, I definitely think we're getting there more and more, like every day. You can have the AI able to do that. So thank you so much, Dominique, for your time. There were two things that I didn't get to ask you about, but I just wanted to comment on. I know last year you guys had a really large fundraising round, so I wanted to say congratulations on that. And then also just recently had the Fast Company Most Innovative Healthcare Company recognition for 2026. I think that is an amazing recognition, so congratulations. I'm not sure if you have any comments on either of those. I wanted to give you an opportunity, but realized I did not mention them earlier.
Yeah, I mean, particularly the Fast Company one is really exciting because, you know, we hear from our customers all the time that we're solving the right problems, the most meaningful things. We're helping to build technology that will really help them build like the future. They want to partner with us to build the future of what healthcare will look like for them. And to get that recognition means like, yes, not only are our customers noticing this, but the industry as a whole is seeing that this is where we're headed as a trend.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dominique. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to chatting with you again in the future, hopefully.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.